Because it was, I think that's caused a lot of problems. Things have changed so fast.
All right, welcome everyone. Before we call the meeting to order, we will have a prayer led by Councilman Kemna, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for every seat that has been filled here today. We thank you for giving us all the ability to serve one another and to serve this community. I pray that you continue to work in us and through us to face the many challenges we face and we have yet to face. Give us strength, courage, and wisdom to be leaders during these challenging times. Thank you for the amazing power and work you do in our lives. Let us desire to become more like you and to worship you in all we do. We ask all these things in your name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. I will now call to order the Monday, August 15th, 2022 City Council meeting. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call please.
Deacon,
Here.
Fitzwater,
Present.
Hensley,
Present.
Kemna,
Here.
Lester,
Here.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Here.
Spicer,
Present.
Ward, here, Wiseman.
Present.
Item 3, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, no miscellaneous items. Item 5, we have some public hearings. Item A is introduction of Bill 2022-52.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri adopting a budget and personnel classification plan for the city for the period of November 1, 2022 to October 31, 2023, and appropriating money in the city treasury to pay the cost of operating the city government during that period in accordance with the budget.
Mrs. Perry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the clerk indicated, this is for the FY 2023 operating budget. The general fund proposal is $36.312 million, with additional funding for other funds and for capital project funds, bringing the total FY 2023 City of Jefferson budget to $75.563 million. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. Perry? With that, we will open the public hearing portion of this bill. Is there anyone that would like to speak on Bill 2022-52? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion, and we'll have several opportunities for the public to comment on that as well. And next is item 2, pending bill. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Fitzwater.
Yeah, I just had a question, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place to put it. I'd asked a question during the budget call last week, but I couldn't hear the response to it. My question relates to the 3.9 million from sales tax G that we're proposing to use for the 2023 budget. And I just wanted to clarify that those dollars are whole. There's no encumbrances going to be against them. Is that a pool of dollars that either through savings or additional revenue is setting in that account?
Mrs.
Correct.
Perry?
Correct. So those funds are funds that we have historically talked about at the end of each 5-year iteration of sales tax. We refer to them as gleaning. Those are funds that have come in above and beyond in revenues what were projected, or also from interest income. So the approximately 3.9 that was referred to in the budget document is excluding anything that has previously been allocated. It's completely outside of that, completely outside of anything that was previously referred to as contingency. This is completely new revenue that would have been above and beyond budgeted figures.
It's totally additional revenue, or were there projects that were proposed in G that never came to fruition, so we had some savings in G?
No, any funds that we had previously discussed as having been allocated for projects have been taken into account. Those have been rolled and reappropriated as necessary for the continued use by whichever department is responsible for the project.
Well, I'll probably re-raise this issue as we go through the budget process. Is there any restrictions on using those funds as we're working our way through projects in the cycle, which was actually sales tax G? My question relates to it. In Public Works, we are continuously looking at projects, and like every other department in the city, we always have more requests than we have dollars to be able to fund them. We had a street project that we had proposed, or staff had proposed us, that we adopted. I mean, we all get approached by members of the community that I want my street done, and unfortunately, because of cost rises, we had to take some streets off of the program. Then we rediscussed it, and this council was very generous to put some dollars of the ARPA funds into those street projects, which now at last week's meeting, we find out we could not do them because they still take us outside. So we at least reallocated them to concrete streets. But it would have been nice to have been able to utilize some of these funds to be able to meet the needs of the homeowners on those 4 streets. And in full disclosure, my street is one of those 4. I'm not asking for my street. I mean, mine bubbled into, I mean, we've been waiting for years like everyone else, but it is on that list. But that's not the reason for my question, because Foxborough and Ellis, and I don't remember what the 4th street is. And if we've got taxes that are generated in a time frame, and we've got projects that we could complete for our citizens, I'm just curious, unless we're not allowed to go into those until we get to the end of the process. But 4 million seems like 3.9 million seems like to be a huge cushion when we could have met the needs of some of the community. So I don't know if that's a question, a comment, but I'll probably re-raise it as we go through the budget process. And this is my first winding down a tax. So, I mean, if we did different in F, I apologize.
Mr. Kroll?
So the question about what can it be used for, it can be used for capital expenditures. I've said several times in budget process and before, don't forget about gleaning is the word I would use, and the sales tax G. So I've said that several times. So typically what we would do is we'd wait till after council's adopted the budget, and this is an estimate, and we'd have a better estimate as we get closer and after the budget's been adopted. Where council in the past had gone through and had that gleaning discussion after the budget's been adopted. So there's no regulation on when it has to be done. So that answers that question, hopefully.
Okay, any other?
Just to respond to that, if we did not ask, or if I did not, I'm not going to take the responsibility for the other 4 members. If I did not ask that question, I did ask the question, and I think the special meeting, are there any sales tax G dollars that we could utilize? At that time, we were talking about the viaduct, because the concern was sales tax H was not going to build up quick enough to be able to do that project. And again, fortunately, the council was very generous to utilize some of the ARPA funds. But my takeaway from that meeting, and maybe I misunderstood the answer to the question, was that we did not have other funds that were potential sources. What we were trying to do is get to that $1 million so we could at least begin the design phase. So if I did not ask the question right, I'll ask it different in the future. But it seems like we've got projects where we collected the tax. We told the community we're collecting the tax. People in the city were very generous. They purchased more products, or prices went up and taxes went up. And we had some dollars available. So I'll ask the question different, but it would have been nice to be able to use some of those funds, and I'd take the responsibility for that.
Councilman Spencer?
Yeah, I agree with your assessment of what the question was asked in our last Public Works Committee meeting, and I think staff said that they were not aware of any dollars that could be accessible. But this is my first time, but in previous budget processes, the gleaning exercise that we reference has never been this high. So I guess my concern is there something that we're not catching or missing in our financials? And this is no pointing any fingers, but to anyone. I just want to make sure that we don't get caught by surprise down the road of, oh my, we need to come up with these dollars. So again, a 3.9 gleaning exercise is a lot different than previous gleaning during budget years. So there's just an air of caution, if you will, that I have. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, Mrs. Perry.
I do want to point out, as we go through this exercise, typically we would wait until the iteration had finalized. And as I think everyone recognizes, as we've presented the Finance Committee reports on a monthly basis and we talk about sales tax, that is something that has historically seen an increase. It's been up above what it is that we've historically budgeted. So that's really what a majority of these gleaning funds are coming from, increases above and beyond what our budgeted revenues have been. It just would typically be an exercise that happened after that particular 5-year iteration had occurred.
Thank you for that explanation. Appreciate that. Anything else? All right. Item 2, pending bill 2022-45.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, providing for the levy of gross receipt utility tax and continuing and readopting the rate of taxation for the City of Jefferson, Missouri for the year 2022 through 2023.
Mrs. Perry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Code Section 17-207 requires the city to review their gross receipts utility or GRUT tax on an annual basis. The proposed FY23 budget has been prepared based on the gross receipt utility tax of 6% for those engaged in the business of selling and distributing natural gas, manufactured gas, steam, electricity, or both gas and electricity, and 7% for those engaged in the business of furnishing telephone service or telecommunications services. This is the same rate as the current fiscal year, so the proposed tax rate would stay the same. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, at this time, I will open the public hearing portion for Bill 2022-45. Is there anyone that would like to speak on that bill here tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion, and we will take up Bill 2022-45. Any council discussion or deliberation? Councilman Spencer. Okay, no problem. Anything further? Roll call, please.
Deacon,
Yes.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Ward, Wiseman.
Bill passes. Item B, establishing the rate of taxation for property tax 2022, pending Bill 2022-44.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, providing for the levy of city taxes and establishing the rate of taxation for the City of Jefferson, Missouri for the year 2022.
Mrs. Perry?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. State statute requires that cities establish their property tax rate on an annual basis. These rates are computed based upon changes in the assessed valuation and also in inflation calculation with CPI index. The initial information is prepared by the counties, and the calculations are verified by the Missouri State Auditor's Office. The proposed FY23 budget has been prepared based on the property tax rate of 46 cents for the general fund and 9.61 cents for the fireman's retirement rate, for a total rate of 55.61 cents. This is the same rate as the current fiscal year, so the proposed tax rate would stay the same, and this is due back to the state by September 1st. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councilman Spencer?
Yes, I would love to have a little bit more of an in-depth discussion on this. You know, if there's a way that we could offer up a work session yet this week to debate or to discuss this. Otherwise, I would offer an amendment to the rate currently proposed.
So a work session for this week has been proposed. If there's any council interest in doing that, let us know. Any other questions for Mrs. Perry? With that, I will open the public hearing portion of Bill 2022-44. Is there anyone that would like to speak on that bill this evening? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion and take up pending Bill 2022-44. And any further discussion, questions, or adding another meeting about it? Any discussion on the bill? And maybe if there's not an interest in adding a meeting, maybe Councilman Spencer would want to elaborate on his proposal. And then maybe Councilman Spencer, and then I see Councilman Fitzwater has his hand up too.
Well, I was just gonna ask, were you proposing it Thursday when we're getting together for budget, or a separate meeting from that?
I'm open to either option there.
I'd have no problem with that being an item on the agenda for Thursday. I think it's certainly germane to Budget Committee discussions.
The reason for this ask and courtesy, quite frankly, is I just have not had the time. I tried to have a discussion, contact with some people on the Finance Committee, and wasn't able to do so. So I just did not want to drop this in people's lap tonight. So it would just give me an opportunity to discuss with some key folks for that to be understood and on the proposal. Thank you.
If we had this as an item for Thursday night, would we be allowed to potentially take action on it Thursday night?
So the only way you could take action on it Thursday night if there was a special a special session of the city council advertised. So essentially, we would have a meeting of the budget committee, and then whenever that's done, we would have a meeting of the city council to do it. You would just have to advertise it separately, since technically those are two separate bodies. Whatever order you guys would want to do that would be up to you. But yeah, we would have to go through the technical rigmarole to do that.
So knowing that we have a deadline, what is our deadline if action is not taken tonight or Thursday?
September 30th. No, sorry. September 1st.
September 1st.
Yeah, which
that
essentially
would be,
means our deadline is August 31st, since we have to have it into the state on the 1st.
and that would be August 18th. And I will note that there is no change in that taxation rate. So the budget that I have proposed does have the current rate listed in there. And also, we've had it introduced and did not have any public input regarding that. And same this evening, we've had our public hearing portion as well. So I don't know if that changes or influences any of this discussion, but wanted to mention that. And it sounds like we're okay with the deadline, but I know we're getting close to it. So just want to make sure we meet the proposed deadline.
I would just ask if we could have that special meeting notice posted for this Thursday and do these meetings, have these discussions in tandem in an open setting.
Okay, Councilman Wiseman?
That was going to be my suggestion as well. Otherwise, if we can't, maybe we can include it just as an agenda item and then call the special meeting on Monday when we meet again. Because don't we meet next Monday for budget as well? So if we're running short on time, we could discuss Thursday and then meet on Monday.
And I guess, and I know we had a quorum last time, but I would just want to make sure as we get close to the deadline, because we've already had this as our second meeting to discuss it. So we've had that ample opportunity, I believe. And also, like I said, it was in the proposed budget that I proposed, but want to make sure, I guess if anyone's going to be absent, just make sure that they note that so that we'll make sure we do have quorum for those. Thank you.
Well, just slight correction in that. Yeah, it's been introduced, but we really haven't had an opportunity to discuss it. Ms. Sheila here, we had a conversation today, and she just recently got information on assessed values, so as of last week. So we haven't had the total information presented to us until technically tonight, at least that's my viewpoint. So would appreciate this opportunity, and thank you for the council for being flexible in that. Thank you.
Councilman Hensley?
Yeah, thank you. I think we have maybe as many as 4 budget committee meetings before the end of August. So before that August 31st deadline. Until we get this addressed and finalized and approved, it might make sense to have that special meeting notice applied for every one of those meetings, simply so that we can take action when we're ready to do so on this particular item, since it affects revenues. And I don't know that we can have a very hearty discussion of expenditures until we know what we're bringing in through revenue. So, yeah, we can, I think it makes sense to have it for Thursday. We can certainly have it again for Monday if we don't get it voted on this week, but it's an important thing to take care of before we get too deep into the rest of the budget talks.
Mrs. Perry, do you create the agenda for the budget meetings?
Yes,
Okay, so you will have those items posted as needed.
and I'll work with the city clerk to get the special meeting notices posted.
All right, so we have everything squared away on that.
So technically, special meetings have to be called by the mayor or 3 council members. So if we could just get that onto the record, then we can.
Okay. Do you have what you need? Okay.
Emily,
Perfect.
I'm sorry, raise your hand again.
I'm counting Hensley, Fitzwater,
Hensley.
Wiseman, and Spencer.
So we just need 3, so
Yeah.
which 3 of you want to be listed on there, if there's a preference.
Thank you.
Thank you. So any other, yes, Councilman Hensley.
Thanks for the assist here from my colleague to my left. I suppose then that I would request, unless there's further action to be taken on this or further discussion, that when we're ready, that this be placed on the informal. Correct?
Yeah, that works. We'll just have to notate that on the agenda.
So I don't know if we're ready for that at this point. I don't know if you had more of a presentation to make or not, but
I have a spreadsheet here, but I did not have 10 of them, so, but I can have that ready to hand out Thursday,
okay.
if that would suffice.
Well, if there's nothing else on this, I'd request that it be placed on the informal calendar until our meeting on, the special council meeting on Thursday night this week.
Again, thank you, council, for being flexible on this matter. Thank you.
Sure. So you don't have anything to report on it tonight? I mean, I don't know what
Well, sure,
you're
I can-
talking about,
if
if you wanted to.
It's just to lower the ceiling rate to 0.4561.
Okay. Any further comments, discussion, questions?
What would be the fiscal impact of that?
By my arithmetic, and I would feel much better about if Ms. Peary would validate these figures, but they would have a financial impact of $867,000, and I think we could absorb most of that, 90+% of it, through the vacancy savings that we have currently, as of the positions that are open from July 1 that I was given.
Across every single department, or
No, it was just the vacancy savings of open positions that, sorry, that Mrs. Strope shared with me a few weeks ago.
were some of those already built into the mayor's current proposed budget? Were you using those dollars? already
Correct,
proposed?
yes.
How much was that? 200 something maybe, or did that number change?
Have to look.
Yeah, let's see, we took out 2 planners, 1 administrative assistant, and I don't know what the total is on that offhand.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
I'm not sure what other than police, fire, and dispatcher positions were vacant, but you recall? I mean, I don't know. Those were taken out, so if there are some others that we need to talk about, that's fine, but.
I think on the list we previously reviewed, there was 1 street maintenance worker.
So is this 867,000 above the amounts that were already baked into the current proposed budget?
On the mayor's budget letter, I only recalled city planners and one customer service person. So that's only 3 positions that I'm aware of. The July amount had, and I subtracted the finance director since we have that position filled now, but there was several parks employees, street and maintenance workers. I'm just going off the top of my head here, city planners, and I think even a position in engineering, I believe. Don't hold me to that.
Mrs. Perry?
So I did look at the number that you proposed, the 867, 676. That is the amount that I come up with as far as the reduction goes. I do want to point out that since the property tax goes into the general fund, the only thing you'd be able to offset that number with are general fund employees, because anybody that's in another fund would be allocated towards that fund, for example, parks. So I do agree with the figure, though, that you proposed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So your proposal, which you'll bring forward on Thursday night in more detail and share, is basically to eliminate some staff positions entirely then, because once this is lowered, it likely wouldn't be ever, I mean, the ceiling lowers, so it wouldn't be able to be raised. Is that the proposal, is to eliminate some staff, which may in turn eliminate services to the public?
Well, I don't think it's the opportune time to get in real detail about it tonight, Mayor, but I do believe it's important that we have a legitimate discussion about property tax rates and how we best serve the people. And I think they're worthy of having an in-depth discussion about their property tax rates. So I'm
And
willing
I'm
to have
not,
that.
I am not saying they're not. I know we're bringing it up Thursday, just trying to be prepared and just trying to get a grasp and understanding of why you've proposed it. So that's all. Okay,
To
thank
save
you.
money
Mr.
for
Councilman Hensley?
people that pay taxes.
Ms. Perry, do you happen to have a figure of what the vacancy savings would be from eliminating open general fund departmental positions that have not already been factored into the mayor's budget?
I don't have that document before me. I could send it out
Okay.
via email.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions? And I know that as questions may come up about that, and I would imagine between now and whether it's Thursday or Monday, or whenever council takes action, or before the August 31st or September 1 deadline. Mrs. Perry, so if that ceiling is lowered, then what's the process to get it back? Let's say if council would choose to do that in the future.
So every year we have historically taken a voluntary reduction. And if you take a voluntary reduction, and this would be a voluntary reduction because the rate that we can actually go up to, our ceiling, is 46.98 cents. If you take a voluntary reduction in any given year, you run the chance that in the following year, your tax ceiling will be reduced, potentially down past the point that we're currently at, which means you would not be allowed to increase it back up to where we currently stand. Those are figures that I can't provide you at this point because, again, they're all based on the changes in assessed valuation as well as a CPI index. So we won't know exactly what that ceiling will be until next year once assessed valuations are performed and we have those figures from the state auditor's office.
Thank you. Councilman Spencer?
But those assessed value numbers changes yearly though as well.
Correct, but historically assessed valuations increase. I just want council to be aware that if you take that voluntary reduction, your ceiling is more than likely going to be reduced as well, which then means you will not be able to return to the level that you're currently at.
So what you're saying is we run the risk of not being able to get back to the ceiling if we do need to, if we're faced with a budget situation in the future, we run that risk of not, correct?
Of not being able to return where you are currently at the 46 cents for the general fund.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, and item C, authorizing rezoning of 0.5 acres under Bill 2022-46.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning .05 acres of land addressed as 203 East Dunklin Street from C2 General Commercial to MU1 Mixed Use.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This bill would approve a property owner-initiated request to rezone. The property is located generally at the corner of Madison Street and Dunklin Street, the northeast corner. It's located right behind the Central Bank billboard-style sign. It's kind of a prominent feature of that intersection. The property is very small, consisting of 0.05 of an acre. It's one building on the property, formerly used as a Buddhist church. It's a 2-story building. The purpose of the request is to convert the building to a 2-unit residential use, up and down duplex. The property is sitting in a C2 general commercial zoning district right now. The request is to rezone to an MU1, a mixed use zoning district. The request would actually conform with the comprehensive plan. Up on the screen is a future land use map component of the comprehensive plan, which shows essentially that whole stretch of Dunklin Street in this area as being intended or ideal for a mixed-use zoning. The property owners are here this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have prior to opening the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Any questions of council? Councilwoman Ward?
Just a quick question. Does this also conform with the South Side plan that we adopted a few years ago?
I would answer yes. The recommendations of the comprehensive plan and the South Side plan are essentially the same. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing portion for Bill 2022-46, and we would welcome the property owners if they would like to come forward and make any comments. They're welcome to, so thank you for being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gretchen Bisley, and my husband and I are here just to take a minute to introduce us to you, and as longtime owners in the Old Munichburg area. And we're just requesting your approval of this rezoning request. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and a lot of what Eric already said is what I was going to say. But
Do you want to pull the mic up to your, there you go, perfect,
okay,
thank
sure.
you.
So my husband and I have been in conversation with the city staff. Eric Barron and Courtney Bliss, they've been very helpful and of great assistance in this matter. And so our application for rezoning was presented at the July 14th Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, in which they made a motion to recommend our request to the council. And so we're just here to thank you for your service and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for being here. Is there any questions of council? Okay. Thank you for your support of the Old Munichburg area.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on this bill tonight? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion and take up Bill 2022-46. Are there any council questions, discussion, deliberation? And you read it already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Deacon.
Aye.
Bill passes. Thank you for being here. Item 6, appointments by the mayor. Gail Strope.
Thank you. We have 3 appointments this evening that we are recommending approval for. The first is Deborah Green to the Historic Preservation Commission. The second is Roland Howard to the Transportation and Traffic Commission. And the third is Ken Gulich to the USS Jefferson City Submarine Committee.
Any questions or a motion to approve? Councilwoman Wiseman.
Yeah, I just want to let the council know in full transparency, Ken is my other half. So I have to abstain from that vote, but I just wanted to let everybody know in full transparency.
And he has been attending every meeting too, by the way, which is great.
He
So-
has, and he helped out with USS Jefferson City visit. That was fun.
He did. So he is qualified, more than qualified to be serving. But thank you for that disclosure there.
Are you not giving your vote of confidence to Mr. Gulich there?
Oh, no, I
okay.
fully am supportive.
Okay.
I'm really excited. He's going to hang out with Hal and talk all, like, you know, Navy Marine stuff, and it's going to be great.
Well, why don't we entertain a motion to take up, let's do the first 2 separately, and that way Aaron can abstain from the third one. So we have let's entertain a motion to take up historic preservation and transportation.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And I do want to take a moment because we have Mr. Roland Howard here this evening, so thank you for being here. And do you want to just come up and introduce yourself? Just tell us who you are, and just since you took the time to come, and we congratulate you on your appointment to the Traffic and Transportation and for taking the time to be here this evening. So welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Roland Howard. What do you want?
You can tell us a little bit. I know you had some experience in traffic and planning.
Yes, so I work with MoDOT. I went to Rolla. It's now Science and Technology, not UMR anymore. But I went there and had my degree in civil engineer, and then I worked with MoDOT in Hannibal, Missouri for 13 years as a director of their Bridge and Highway Department. And then I went on to out of Las Vegas, Perini, worked at the project manager for 9 years, and just recently moved back here last 2 years. And I'm currently state legislator assistant for 2 representatives, one out of St. Louis and Kansas City, Missouri.
Well, we appreciate that very much. And Mr. Howard, for you to be here tonight, I thought it's a good opportunity now that you've been approved officially, since you took the time to come, to introduce yourself to the council, because we appreciate our volunteers that serve on our city boards and commissions. And I was impressed that you really wanted to get engaged in the city. And when you talked about your background in planning and traffic and transportation knowledge that you had and your experience, this was a perfect fit. So we look forward to having you on there.
Thank you.
So does council have any questions for Roland? Okay. And we'll have you on the agenda for the next traffic meeting. So Gail will send that notice out to you, I'm sure. So.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And next is, we have a motion to entertain USS Jefferson City.
So moved.
Second.
And any further discussion? And we already know Aaron will abstain, but, so we don't need a roll call, but we'll do, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, and abstentions. Okay. The record will show that, but Ken won't take it personally, so. And I don't think we have Deborah Green here or on the line, do we? Making sure, Historic Preservation. Okay, we appreciate all our boards and commission volunteers. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, invited guests. That broadband efforts update and survey will be placed on the next agenda. There's going to be a link for a survey that Luke Holtschneider, our Economic Development Executive Director for JC Rep, is going to be putting out some PR about a survey, because as we know how important it is for broadband and access in and around the capital city here, and we're working with the city and county and JC Rep group on potential options for broadband. And so he has asked that people engage and take the survey, which tells things like broadband speeds and that kind of thing from your home or workplace. So they will encourage people to take that survey. The link is not up yet, so he's holding off to come here and announce it tonight. But as soon as that is up, we'll be sure to send that out to everyone, and he will come to the next meeting to talk about that. So any questions on that at this time? And item 8, announcements by mayor, council, and staff. We have our 4 standing committees available at jeffersoncitymo.gov for a calendar of events. We'll start with administration.
Yes, our next meeting is September 7th. It's 7:30 a.m.
Great. And finance?
Thank you. We will not be having our normal finance committee monthly meeting this Thursday morning, but to make up for that, we will be having 5 budget committee meetings between now and the next full council meeting. The next budget committee meeting is this coming Thursday, August 18th at 5:30 in this room.
Okay, any questions? All right, and public safety.
Yes, ma'am. Our next public safety meeting is Thursday, August 25th, 7:30 a.m., police training room.
Okay, and public works and planning.
Public Works will be meeting, our next meeting is September 8th at 7:30 here at City Hall. Would also announce the Campo Board of Directors meets this Wednesday at noon. We've got a lot on that agenda. Many times things from there kind of fall into Public Works, so that will be a busy meeting for us.
Okay, appreciate that. Any other council announcements or other committees? And a few things that I'll have to announce is the USS Jefferson City. I am holding a fundraiser out in the hallway here. I have some T-shirts that I've either purchased or been donated to me over the years as mayor, And unfortunately, a lot of them might be more size small. But if anyone has that need for T-shirts, they're by donation only, using all of those funds to raise money for the USS Jeff City. And we are also talking about doing a pickleball tournament here soon that can also raise money, because when they come here, we want to be able to take them out and do more things with them and engage with them, and maybe send care packages and things to them. So working on some fundraising efforts there. Speaking of another fundraiser, we do have the Guns and Hoses hockey tournament on August 27th. And a few other things to announce. We had some students from Spain here, and we had about 13 students, so they fit 3 of them here and 5 on either side. So your seats were taken today, just so you know, and they enjoyed being here and giving them a tour of City Hall. And the fire department also brought the fire truck and showed them the gear. They were able to try it on and see just how heavy it was. And it was impressive and really nice to take the time to show exchange students what it's like here in the capital city. And wanted to mention Chief Wilde gave a presentation. He was the topic of discussion for the Chamber's Friday Coffee last Friday, and heard some really great reviews on that. So thank you for taking the time to engage with the Chamber on that. Appreciate that. And then also, I know that more to come on this, but you also received an ESGR award recognition, so that will be coming soon. They had to postpone the actual dinner, but want to congratulate you, be one of the first to tell you congratulations on that as well. So thank you for your engaging efforts. And also you were at National Night Out along with some of your other officers, and those will continue, I believe, throughout the month. So anything on any of those items?
No, with the pertaining to the ESGR award, I think that met with Sam Bushman, and we're going to try to present that at the next city council meeting. Emily's going to put it on the agenda.
Wonderful. Well, we will be honored to get to present that here to you. So looking forward to that. And that, if you're not familiar with ESGR, it's a great organization that assists people who serve in the military while they are out. They're able to retain their jobs and still serve our country. So we appreciate your service. Any other announcements? Okay, and item 9, presentations from the gallery. We have nobody signed up. Anyone online signed up or willing to talk? Okay, item 10, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilman Deacon?
I ask the clerk to make a change on the minutes. I voted no against the bond issue instead of voted yes.
Okay, so the clerk will make that change. So we'll have a motion to approve the minutes on the August 1st with that change.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills introduced. We've taken up number 52. So number 53, Mr. Marash. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Donaldson.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a $68,710 agreement with Bartlett and West Incorporated for the Basin 7 Phase 3 design.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. As clerk indicated, this is a design contract with a local engineering firm, Bartlett and West. It's a wastewater project. It's a relief sewer, meaning that, it would add capacity during wet weather times. It's located kind of in the area of Sunbelt Rental, just give you a feel for where it's at. And we actually have a grant application pending for construction in this area with DNR, and we hope that's successful. This needs done regardless, but that's how we hope to fund construction. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Fitzwater.
We had a discussion. Is there any reason we need to move this forward quicker? I know I asked about one later on the agenda. I did not ask about this one.
I don't believe there's any pending reason yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. 2022-54.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending Chapter 19 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule J, parking prohibited by the addition of 40 feet on the north side of Colonial Hills Road west of Independence Drive.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. The clerk described it well. It's basically removing one parking space in a neighborhood at Independence and Colonial Hills intersection. Site distance issue that went through the Traffic and Transportation Commission.
Any questions? All right, thank you. And 2022-55.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending Chapter 19 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule O, parking time limit zones, and Schedule N, parking meter zones and monthly parking fees by the modification of 2 spaces on the south side of the 400 block of East High Street.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. And the clerk basically indicated what it was, but two short-term parking spaces in front of or near the Plate and Pour, the most westerly spaces on that block. And these are similar to other locations in downtown. This also was discussed at Transportation and Traffic Commission.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Mr. Marash. And 2022-56.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a consultant agreement with Jefferson, a Wilbert company, and a grant agreement between the city of Jefferson and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the purpose of conducting an environmental assessment and land-related services associated with a new control tower for the Jefferson City Memorial Airport.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. And I believe the clerk, the title said it all, but the contract is 100% grant funded, $83,092. I guess 92, yes, 92. And it's for environmental assessment of some property we would need to construct a new control tower at the airport.
Any, Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, this is an issue we've been talking about for a long time. As Mr. Marash indicated, it is fully grant funded, so I would ask for a suspension of the rules so that we can go ahead and act on this and get this project underway.
Okay, we've had a request to suspend the rules. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we will take up 2022-56.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a consultant agreement with Jefferson, a Wilbert company, and a grant agreement between the city of Jefferson and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the purpose of conducting an environmental assessment and land-related services associated with a new control tower for the Jefferson City Memorial Airport.
Is there any council discussion on the bill? Roll call, please.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Deacon.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2022-57.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending Article 4, Applications and Applicants, and Article 5, Appointments of the Personnel Policy Manual.
Mrs. Strope?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a recommendation to amend the Personnel Policy Manual. Our current policy within the manual, when it comes to hiring, requires us to create a list of eligible applicants to consider for employment for each job opening that we have. So what we're recommending is to eliminate the requirement that we create a pool of applicants and a closing date for that, so that our departments can hire more quickly. It's very hard for us currently to compete in this very difficult job market, where other employers are pretty much able to interview immediately upon receiving applications and oftentimes hiring on the spot. This will really, we feel as though this will create a much more nimble, much quicker hiring process. The change will not eliminate the requirement to announce our job openings. We will still post all job openings on our website, and we will just list like an open until filled type of thing instead of a close date. And it also will not eliminate the opportunity, though, to have a close date and to set a pool. So if we still want to do the current process, we can, but it won't require us to do that. And then it also cleans up a little bit of gender language and then language regarding appointing employees within the police department that actually was changed years ago. So the administration committee did review this request and voted unanimously to move it forward to the full council. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mrs. Strope. Are there any questions? Okay. Moving on to bills pending, 2022-44, which is the bill regarding the rate of taxation for property tax. Let's see, that sponsor is Councilman Hensley, who is going to place that on the informal. Or already did. Do we need to take that action under this one, Ryan?
No, he's taking care of it.
Awesome. And then item 45 and 46 were taken up. Number 47,
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri relating to its financial disclosure policy and conflict of interest.
Mr. Molman.
Thank you. This ordinance readopts the city's code on financial disclosure and conflicts of interest. There is no change to these sections. It's just that state statute requires that these provisions be readopted every 2 years.
Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2022-48.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the Environmental Quality Commission member section to reduce the number of members.
Mr. Marash?
Oh, I read that.
Well, that was 49.
Sorry. I'll
Oh.
read 48.
Whoops.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, vacating and discontinuing the right-of-way at Atchison Court.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As the clerk indicated, this would vacate Ashton Court, which is a very short, narrow street that dead ends into the LU campus. Lincoln University also owns both sides of the street, and so it serves no public need, and this would vacate that. We've discussed this at Public Works and Planning Committee meeting in the past, and they recommended forwarding it to the council.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2022-49.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the Environmental Quality Commission members section to reduce the number of members.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. This bill would reduce the members of the Environmental Quality Commission from the current 9 members to 7 members. Essentially, it is to help that commission more readily achieve quorum so they can conduct regular business.
Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer, Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2022-50.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the city code pertaining to parking time, fees, and penalties.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. And as the substitute, as it could be brought up now or after I explain it?
Yeah, after the staff report.
Yeah, so the staff report on this is, this was an item discussed a couple of different times at our Public Works and Planning Committee meeting, but it would basically modify the parking time limit to 10 hours on Capitol, from the state capitol to Madison Street, and then also on Jefferson and Madison Streets as well. To also raise the rate in those locations, or excuse me, on Madison, then 100 block, and Jefferson, then 100 block. Raise the rate to $1 per hour, and this is in preparation for getting prepared to institute a parking app where you could pay by app, and that does not require any bill or anything. That's a contract that can be signed by Mr. Kroll. But our original bill also included 2 additional blocks on Capitol from Madison over to Adams. And there was some feedback on that, and it was discussed again at the Public Works and Planning Committee, and a substitute's available to remove those 2 blocks and leave them as they are. Be happy to answer any
Councilman
questions.
Fitzwater?
Yeah, if there are no questions, I was just going to move to adopt the substitute.
All right, and we have a motion to adopt the substitute. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And any further discussion? And Mr. Marash, do you want to discuss the substitute?
Well, that was the substitute removed the 2 blocks on Capitol that extended from Madison over to Adams,
Okay.
and left them as they were,
All
as
right.
they are.
So a motion and second. Let's take a vote to accept the substitute. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So now we'll take up 2022-50 as substituted. Any discussion? Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, I was just going to make a couple of comments, and I appreciate the work that staff has done on this. It is part of our comprehensive parking strategy. As you know, we have all gotten questions on parking. We're the capital city, we're a tourism city, so we have flows of people in and out of our community, so it's always a challenge to address. But I think this is a piece of that strategy. I mean, I hate that we had to drop a couple blocks off, but I thought it was appropriate. The committee had good discussion. The overall goal was to try to begin the process of the app-based parking meters and look at areas around the Capitol. So I think staff did a great job of making some recommendations to us. We got a little pushback on the 200 block of Capitol Avenue, which is the block where my building is. We got a little pushback on the 300 block. So I think it's appropriate for the substitute that we pull those two off, try to do our pilot study, see if this works the way that we think it will. And again, begin to look at our comprehensive parking strategy as it plays into the parking garage, which we're still waiting for the report on, the study on, what the state is going to end up doing with their parking, projected parking garage downtown. But I think this is a good step, and I appreciate all the work that's been done on it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Spencer?
Yes, Ms. Morash, so now that this hurdle's been cleared, how long will it take to implement the parking app?
Yeah, we have had some discussions with our contractor, and we believe in the next 2 months. So sometime in October, we hope.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber.
Bill passes. 2022-51.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri temporarily waiving the requirement for City Council approval for grant applications that require $25,000 or more of city matching funds.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. So current city code requires before the city applies for a grant in excess of $25,000 in matching funds that staff get council approval via resolution before that application is made. We have found ourselves in a particular situation in the grant application world, if you will, where the money that is available is coming out very quickly and oftentimes with very tight time frames to make application. And so this is essentially a request that process where city staff has to come to the city council first before making a grant application be waived for a period of 6 months. Essentially, we're thinking of as a pilot project to see if this is something that can be sustained or more something that can just kind of carry us through this extraordinary kind of situation where the grant opportunities are coming pretty fast and furious. So this is just a temporary reduction of the process, coming to city council before grant application. Remaining is a requirement that if the city is awarded the grant, that the grant acceptance would still come in front of the city council. So the city council will still see all of these grants. They're just not going to see them twice for the next 6 months.
Thank you, Mr. Molman. Any questions, discussion? Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, I was just going to make a general comment that I think our staff has done an amazing job of looking and searching out grant opportunities for the city to help us expand our dollars. So I think this is a great move on behalf of council, and I will be supporting it.
Great. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Spicer,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer.
Aye.
Bill passes. Nothing on the informal. Item 14, resolutions 2022-19.
A resolution authorizing continuation of joint Jefferson City Fire Department, Cole County EMS operations under a temporary memorandum of understanding.
Chief Schofield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is an extension of our current MOU agreement with Cole County EMS, and it really reflects no substantial changes from what we've had previously. But I am happy to report that this resolution supports the MOU between both organizations that are working well together, and we're looking forward to the future to improve operations even more in coming years. Part of the reason it's coming to you now to extend to the end of this calendar year is just trying to sync it up with not only our fiscal year, calendar year, but also budget processing to essentially receive the funds that Cole County has already allocated for 2022. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Schofield. Any questions or a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion or deliberation? Roll call, please.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Deacon,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer.
Resolution passes. Item 15, presentations from the gallery on other topics. There's nobody signed up, but is there anyone here that would like to speak or online? Okay. Item 16, is there any council and staff discussion of presentation topics? Item 17, any new business? And we'll go into closed session. I did forget to make one announcement, though. Over the weekend was the Tour to Jeff City Community Bike Ride, Moonlight Bike Ride. It's not at midnight, it's at 2 a.m. And our own Emily Donaldson did the ride for the first time, along with over 100 other people. I didn't actually get the full count. I know there was well over 100. I know Mr. Spalding's here. I don't know if you heard any final numbers just yet. But,
No final numbers.
but that's a tradition that's been going on for many years. And I think I forgot to mention it because I'm probably still a little tired and groggy from biking from about 2 until 4:30 in the morning. But I have to say, to see Jefferson City from that vantage point at night, there's very little traffic, which is why they do that. It starts at Hy-Vee, goes down Edgewood around the entire city. You end up past Jeff City High School on Stadium, around Lincoln University, through Community Park, and past City Hall here on McCarty to the Capitol. Red Wheel Bike Shop gives us donut holes there in the middle of the night for a break, and then you circle back down West Main back to Hy-Vee. So it's about 15 miles, and it's a fun way to see Jefferson City, but we're still recovering. Good job, Emily. Did I miss anyone else in the room that did that?
Don't forget Chief Schofield was there doing the ride as well.
What?
I was undercover. I was there. My two boys also. It's kind of a tradition for us too. So yep. It is fun to be on the road in the middle of the night, going really fast down this.
Yes, it really is something. And I'm sorry I missed you. There were so many people. It's almost hard to even see.
I was going to say my estimate was probably more like 200 or 300. There was a lot of people there.
I bet it was. I think you're right. By the time I went past, the gal who was counting had been up to 100, and I know there were several more even behind me. So that is wonderful. I'm glad you were there. And there was another firefighter. There were other city employees there as well. So that was great. But it was open to the public. It's free. It's a great event, a great tradition. So I'm glad that you and your boys did that as well. But so join us next year. Start thinking about it. Start getting some rest to do it for next year. Item 18, closed session. Pursuant to Section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss the following. Item I, privileged communications between a public governmental body and its attorneys, Section 610.0211, and real estate, Section 610.0212. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wiseman, Deacon, Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer, Ward.
Aye.
Motion passes, so we will go into closed session in this room. We'll give them time to turn the cameras off for a moment, and so we'll reconvene here in about 3 minutes, 3.5, 4 minutes.